Hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and as always, I am so excited today to be joined by another beautiful guest. Today, this particular guest is somebody who I know is going to breathe a breath of inspiration into all of those working mums out there right now that feeling maybe a little bit distracted, maybe a bit overwhelmed. Maybe you're wondering, how do you prioritize time to do the things that you love, to be a great mum, and to be successful in your business? Well, this woman has done it all. Today, I get the pleasure of speaking to General Manager of Jeunesse, Australasia, Rachel McVinish. Now, Rachel has got an incredible background, an amazing wealth of experience in both the fast-moving consumer goods industry, but specifically in the last 15 years, she's been working in direct selling, and she is sold out for this industry. More importantly, Rachel is incredibly passionate about helping and seeing other people, other women specifically, but mums and dads, take their careers and their passions into their own hands and be successful in this amazing industry that we all get to be a part of. Rachel also has experienced and achieved some incredible things over the last 12, 18 months, and she's going to share a little bit about that amazing journey and about her journey as a mum who is achieving incredible things as well and how she balances all of that. I know you're going to love this episode. You're going to be inspired. You're going to be motivated. She's a breath of fresh air, so grab that pen and paper ready to jot down some of her golden nuggets because, as always, there's going to be plenty of them, and enjoy the episode. Huge thank you to Rachel for joining us. So tune on in, listen in, and enjoy, guys. Hey, everybody, and welcome back into the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am really blessed and so excited to be joined by the gorgeous Rachel McVinish from Jeunesse, Australasia. Welcome on in, Rachel.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you here, Rachel, and mostly because we've had a chance to have a really good chat a couple of times now, and I've gotten to know you a little bit better. And I've got to say, as a mum and a working mum at that, I'm a little bit in awe of some of the things that you've achieved and what you continue to do. And I cannot wait for our listeners to hear a little bit about what you've been up to. But let's just start with a really quick intro for those that don't know who you are. So you're the General Manager of Jeunesse, Australasia.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your journey in the direct selling industry, your experience, where you are at now?
Well, my journey started many, many years ago. I think I kicked off in the milk industry. So I initially was, dealing with farmers, Coles and Woolies, getting milk into stores. I then moved into the childcare industry, looking after some, groups of childcare centres, trying to make them profitable as a business manager.
Yep.
Then I fell into the network marketing industry, and that's where I've stayed for the last 15 plus years, because for me, it is really what I love to do. I love working with people every day. I love being able to, work with them and help them change their life. And, Jeunesse for me, I've been there now for almost 7 years, and it's just, I love every day. I love being able to get out of bed and know that I've got purpose for that day. And what I've really started to work with over the last couple of years is, in the network marketing industry and dealing with product launches, several times a year, I've really, become fascinated with ingredients and how they work in the body. And, we've actually just come off the back of a product launch and the product was formulated. I formulated that one. So I'm very proud of myself. It's a product called Life Circulate, and it was probably about 18 months in the making from, conception to finding these ingredients that just wowed me, thinking, I really need to do something with these ingredients, putting it together, running it by a scientist friend. And then the rest is history. We launched it at the end of October and it's doing really well. So that's kind of become, my passion in this industry is, helping people, achieve their goals, work towards their goal, and with a real interest in that product development and ingredients.
Now, this just blows my mind, and I'm so excited to be able to chat about this today, and we will definitely get to it in a few moments. But one of the things that I found really intriguing when we first had a chat was, I said, so what's your background? And you have not got a background in product development.
I'm not a scientist. I do not have a background in product development. I think just, over the last, I've been with, this is my second network marketing company now. So I was with the first one for about 8 years. I've been with Jeunesse for 7. So when you're with companies for that long and you're involved in the product launches, well, for me, I have to understand how that product works. I have to know what those ingredients can do to the body, because at the end of the day, we're the one there selling it to our distributors. I can't sell something I don't believe in. So for me, it's something I've just been really involved in from when I've started in the network marketing industry. And I guess when you're doing something on a daily basis, for over 15 years, you just kind of start understanding things about how these ingredients work in the body. And I just, yes, I'm not a scientist, but it's just something that I saw these ingredients and I was like, we sat back and had a look at, products within our company where there was a hole, and we kind of just did things a little differently in the market. Rather than launching a product globally, I looked at where there was a hole in the market, where there was a hole in Jeunesse, what we could do about it. These ingredients fit perfectly. So I took a chance, put it together and presented it to the US, and luckily our scientific advisory board, believed in the ingredients and the product as much as I did. And the rest is history. It's definitely been a learning curve on developing a product. It's not just as simple as, oh, wow, here's 2 ingredients I love. Let's throw them together and get them produced. There is so much more that goes into it than that. And, that has been a steep learning curve, but I'm really proud of myself for being, able to put together such a strong product and bring it to market.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think, and we'll talk about you being a working mum and all of these things in a few minutes, because this also blows my mind. There's like more to this than just the simple, hey, I decided to launch a product. But from a personal perspective, what have you learned along the way as you've gone on in and launched this product? And you have successfully launched this product, which is just amazing. And you should be so proud. It's inspiring to me, I think, to look at this and go, hey, some of us go, I can't do that because I'm not qualified, or I don't have the piece of paper that says that I can, or the world hasn't endorsed me to go ahead and do this thing over here. And so we hold back. I think particularly as women, we hold back. And so it's such an inspiration to me to see someone who's gone, do you know what? Here is something that should be there. Here is something I believe in. And you know what? I'll be damned if I'm not going to go and grab it. So what have you learned along the way from a personal perspective, going through this journey of developing a new product and dealing with a scientific board for that matter, and a company that's never had a product developed quite in this way previously?
Yeah, I think, well, for me personally, Sam, I think it was all about belief in myself, that I knew that these were great ingredients. I knew these were great. This would be a great product. And it was just, believing in myself firstly, knowing that, hey, I'm not a scientist, but I see an opportunity and I'm not prepared to let this opportunity go. And we train our distributors a lot like this. When you see an opportunity, do you want to be that person that sits back and lets that opportunity slide by you? Or I'm a big believer in, as they say, grabbing the bulls by the horn and running with it. And I think when you've got that belief in yourself, belief in what you're trying, belief in your goals, then, the world's your oyster. It's not the traditional way that markets do things or this industry does things. But, we obviously had the product vetted. It was approved by the TGA. So it just goes to show that, yes, we were on the money. And, it was just something I really believed in, and I couldn't let that pass us by.
Yeah. Self-belief, I know, is definitely a really important thing, but it's also not something that just happens. You don't go, oh, I'm going to believe in myself today. There does come a point where, and, sometimes we waver in that. We all do. But what have you done to keep that confidence going? Because you've gone, hey, here's something that I really believe in. And there will be days, I have no doubt, that you wake up and you're like, yep, let's go get it. And I'm assuming there are days where you question yourself. So what do you do? What do you teach your distributors to do, for that matter, when they waver a bit in that self-confidence and self-belief?
It's all about, we all know that we are going to have those days. Some days you get up and you're like, I am Wonder Woman. And other days you get up and you're like, what was I thinking? And that's human nature. But what you need to ensure is, on those days, you can't dwell on that thought. You've got to quickly push that thought aside and get yourself back on track. And whether getting yourself back on track means, stepping back, taking a little bit of time for yourself, you know what? Let's get out, go for a walk. I know for me, exercise was my biggest thing. Yep. If I was ever having any of those negative thoughts, I knew that I hadn't been to the gym enough that week. So it was time to get out, take myself out of that scenario and, reset my headspace and then come back in. And I think procrastination is probably the worst thing that we, train our distributors. If you're having those negative thoughts thinking, I've just got so many no's in one day, what am I thinking? This isn't for me. Mm-hmm. You are going to get those no's and you are going to have those days, but you've got to stop that thought, take a bit of time out for yourself and get straight back into it. The more you sit there and procrastinate and think, oh, I'm just going to leave it for today, and then a day turns into a week. We just had a conference earlier this year, and, one reference I always talk to my distributors about is, it's like a child on a swing. So you really need to keep that momentum happening, because the minute you stop that momentum, the swing stops swinging. And that's when everything just slows down. That's when those negative thoughts keep coming in. And if you let it happen, they will overtake you.
Yeah, that's so good. And such a great analogy. I love that. We used to talk about the surfer on the wave, that it's, yes. When you go to catch a wave, and I know this from experience now because I did my first surfing lesson last week. But if you stop paddling, it's so much harder to catch back up with that wave. But if you get in front of the wave and you keep the momentum going, the wave does a lot of most of the work for you. But you've got to keep the momentum going. Otherwise, it's, you're working 100 times harder than you have to. So I love that, though. The swing analogy, I'm going to bring that one in. I'm going to use that.
Never kicking your legs. You've got to always keep that legs kicking so you keep swinging.
Love it. So good. Now, I've got so many different directions I want to go here, because I know that there's a lot more to this story, but tell us a little bit about Life Circulate. Like, you started talking about the product, you've talked about these 2 ingredients. I think everyone's going, what is it? Tell me about it. Can you share a little bit about this incredible product that you have been the key to developing?
Absolutely. So look, I think for me, how it all started was I was sitting back, wanting to look at launching a product from a local level. So a lot of our product launches are global. So they're developed by our product development team, vetted by our scientific advisory board, and then it rolls out, US first and then every other market. So obviously we've just come off the back of an unprecedented couple of years. Things have changed quite a lot in the world. So when we develop a product, it always has to sit within what we call the YES system within Jeunesse. That's our youth enhancement system.
Yep.
So I wanted to just sit back, take a look at that system, see where we could develop a product, and then look at what the needs of the market are, along with, what the growth trends are for the market. So, in all of that, I came across 2 particular ingredients, ubiquinol. It may be new for a lot of people, but it is the active form of CoQ10. A lot of people understand CoQ10, and the other one is tocotrienols. Now, I couldn't have picked any more ingredients that are more difficult to say than those 2.
I'm going to leave that one to you.
Training has been, tough with a lot of our distributors, but we then, supported those 2 ingredients with a stellar cast of, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin C. And the focus of the product is, our tagline is heart, immunity, and energy. So it really focuses on the cardiovascular disease. And it was really eye-opening when looking into cardiovascular disease. I think, I know for me and for a lot of people, they just thought cardiovascular disease was like an elderly person's disease. you didn't have to worry about it until you were 65, 70, 75. But it was staggering to know that 1 in 5 heart attacks are people aged 40 years old. Like, that really hit home to me.
Wow.
Into my 40s,
yeah.
thinking that, 1 in 4 people are dying of a heart attack. And the other stat, which just blew me away, and this is really what pushed me down this road, was every 12 minutes in Australia and New Zealand, someone is dying of some form of a cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, wow.
Like, you think, you sit, how long do we sit in front of our computer and you just look at every 12 minutes someone is passing away from something that is completely preventable with some, lifestyle health changes and, some amazing ingredients. And that's when I really knew that I really had to push down this road, because those stats, and we know that obviously immunity is an issue for a lot of people.
Yep.
It's an underlying issue for a lot of these cardiovascular diseases, and energy. Without energy, our body doesn't function from a cellular level. Yep. So it just, to me, it was an absolute no-brainer. It really focused on where we're going in the future, and with some amazing natural products, we can do so much for our bodies before we get to the point of having to go on all of these medications
and intervene. Yeah, absolutely. That's so super powerful. And I sense your passion about this, which, is amazing. And what I also love is that you, and you sort of haven't mentioned much of this, but I know that when you first came across these ingredients and you went, I see the hole in the market, I see a need, you went out and you did all of the necessary research and study, and you didn't just kind of go, hey, I'm going to, with no background in product development, just blindly kind of follow this. You really put a massive amount of work into understanding what you needed to understand to make this happen. And I love that you didn't let any roadblocks get in your way, but I assume that there were probably some bumps and roadblocks that you did experience along the way. Can you share any of those?
Oh, look, there was so many along the way, but, it just, anything can pop up when you're developing a new product, especially with, firstly, we came across issues with, we finally get approval on the product from a global point of view from our scientific advisory board. And then, all of a sudden you got 7 weeks delivery days with getting ingredients into the country. So rather than sitting back and taking those 7 weeks delivery delays, I rang the suppliers myself and begged and pleaded and sold my soul.
There's the superwoman power right there.
we can do. And that 7 weeks got cut down to 2 weeks. So
wow.
I think you really got to, and I'm a big believer in thinking outside the box. When I make a commitment to something, you do whatever you got to do to get that across the line. And, I committed to a date, and we had started, advising our distributors. So for me to have to go back to my field and say, sorry, I couldn't pull it off, was never an option. Yeah. So it was all about doing what I needed to do to make sure I could achieve that date. So there was delivery days, there was packaging issues, there was drying issues with the product, there was extra testing through the regulatory companies that was needed. So there was many bumps, and I think I'm a big believer in planning for those bumps and always be prepared that those bumps are going to come up, because if you don't, you can stress yourself silly.
Yeah.
And I've learned this from experience, after launching a couple of other products early in my career, when you promise a date and you can't stick to it, and then, 5 or 6 weeks go by, it becomes, I would stress myself stupid. I'd be so upset. I could barely function. But at the end of the day, you just got to be prepared for them. You've got to roll with them. You've got to do what you can do to fix them. And realize sometimes things are out of your control. And I think if you're open and honest with your distributors and your field about what those issues are, you get a lot more understanding than trying to hide them and push them under the rug.
Yeah, absolutely. And this product is now out there. You've successfully launched it after, so many bumps and twists and turns along the way. So it's now officially out there, which is super exciting. So congratulations.
Yes,
and you can take a little bit of a breather.
I can.
But what I love most about this story is not only have you done all of this, and you've got a beautiful 9-year-old daughter, is that right?
9, yes.
9. But you're also 31 weeks pregnant.
I am. So all of this has been kind of happening since I fell pregnant. Yeah, I kind of had
Oh my goodness.
early, and then of course, just as I kind of fell pregnant, everything, started moving again with the product. So yeah, it's been a journey, and there's been many early mornings, many late nights, many of very nauseous calls, having to turn my camera off for a moment so I could gather myself. And but we got there in the end. And I think, yeah, look, for me, being pregnant, sick, and all of that was never an excuse. I had a bigger goal for this. Yep. And it just, to be honest, I'm really proud of myself that I could pull it off and do it all, whilst I'm pregnant and having to do everything else that goes with being the GM of a company.
I was going to say, I think being a GM and being pregnant and having a daughter is tough, but you add in product development into the mix of that. And I think you've got, the potential for massive burnout. So how do you, as a mum who's pregnant and got all of that craziness going on, because I've done this a couple of times too. I know what the craziness feels like. You're running a business and you're also trying to be an amazing wife and friend and all of those things and what you need for you. How do you balance all of that? What do you do to take care of Rachel through all of this?
This has probably been one of the biggest challenges of not just this period, but my life. We're very quick to talk to our distributors and talk to people about, getting that work-life balance, but it is probably one of the things I fail at the most, just completely honest here. But, I have a, supportive family, an amazing husband. My team here that work with me is just amazing. So it's so good to be able to have that support. But I think you've really got to just, there were days when, I'd start my calls at 4:30 in the morning because you'd have to deal with the US. Time zones. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we've got this. So then I made sure I kept our leadership group here very involved in the product launch. And that was from conception through to naming the product, through to everything. So then you've got back-to-back calls through to 6 o'clock at night. And I think the key thing for me is I've had to, especially with being pregnant, is identify when I needed to take that step back, because otherwise I'm the kind of person that will push and push. Yep. And you're kind of forced to take 24 hours out because you're sick or you've got a migraine or something along those lines. So I think you've really got to identify that. And I think being active on a daily basis, not so much now, but before, for me, my time was the gym. And I love weights. It could get rid of all my frustrations, it'd make you strong and all of that. But, there's a little bit less weightlifting going on at the moment. So I think just getting out in nature, going for a walk and trying to, reset, take some time for yourself, whether that be to meditate or lie in the sun or, sometimes it's just 5 or 10 minutes or to just walk away and breathe. I think that's one of the biggest things. I'd sit here and then you've got 10 different screens opening and you're trying to do this, you're forgetting this, you're forgetting that. And it's just sometimes it's better off for you to take that 10 minutes, doesn't matter how busy you are, come back and, recenter or call a friend that you know is going to put you in a good mood. You've just got to know what's going to work for you and make sure you can identify. But that probably is the hardest thing to do, identify when you need to take that time out. But, it's being pregnant, it's probably a little bit easier to identify because your body just goes, no, I'm not doing that.
I'm out.
So it has, but look, I've loved every minute of it, I think, because I've been so passionate about it. And to be honest, it's made the pregnancy go so quickly. I haven't had time to dwell on things or stress about things or, it's just like, oh, wow, like I've got 7 weeks to go. Where did that time go?
It's amazing, isn't it? And you and I have spoken a little bit as well about distraction. There's 2 elements to this. You've got the part where you've got a goal and you just go a million miles an hour because, all you care about is achieving that goal. But then there's also that distraction element as well that we've spoken about, particularly at the moment. I think there's so much going on in the world around us. There's so many shiny things to look at. There's so many things to be afraid of. There's so many reasons for people to feel overwhelmed or to pause and stop. What advice do you have for somebody who is maybe feeling a little on the distracted side at the moment and they're finding it hard to focus themselves in order to grow their business?
Sam, that is a really good question, and it's one we've been talking at length about here internally at Jeunesse. I think, distraction and lack of focus is a big thing out there, whether it's in the party plan industry or the network marketing industry, or to be honest, in any industry, because we've just kind of come off the back of an unprecedented couple of years. The world's starting to open again. Life has been difficult for a lot of people. They've been thrown from getting out and about, meeting people, having in-home parties, to having to do everything online. Zoom exhaustion is a thing for a lot of people. So
yes, it is.
So that is a big thing. And I think because this went on for so long, a lot of people have just kind of gotten distracted. And once upon a time, you could bring yourself back after a couple of weeks. But, we're now talking 18 months, 2 years. So it's really difficult. And if I'm being honest here, Sam, it's one of the things, I've probably been struggling, with our Jeunesse family here is exactly how to bring back that focus. It's easy to sit here and say, do this, do this, do this, do this. But, I'm from Brisbane. So for me, I haven't been in that lockdown world of Melbourne and Sydney. So not that I found it difficult to understand, like I'll never understand how they felt being locked down as strictly as they have. And, it's been difficult to sit back and go, okay, this is what we're going to do. But, from a training point of view, this product launch couldn't have been at a better time, which is why for me it was such a big goal and such an aggressive time frame to get it launched, because there's nothing like a product launch to get that momentum, to get that focus happening again in the business. And if it again comes down to belief in yourself, belief in your business, and, you can get out there and you can get that life back. You're getting your freedom back. So you really need to, get out there and remember why you do the business. A big thing we've been really focusing on here is, you started in this industry and you started in this business, and in any career for anybody, there's a reason why you do the things you do. So you've really got to go back and identify, with that why.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And I think that will get a lot of people refocused and laser sharp on what it is they want to achieve. Because it is easy to push your goals aside when there's so much happening in the world. But, you've really got to focus on why you started and continue that.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And your why is something we talk about a lot, because it certainly comes back to what really matters to you. And the thing is that I feel a lot of people focus their why on what they think it should be rather than what it truly is. Yeah. And often they take on the values of the company that they're with, which is fine, but it's not your why. Yeah. It's the why, or it's the mission of the company. And that may play a part, but your customers or your team are going to connect with your why. And that's going to be the thing that drives you. Something that a friend of ours, Keith Abraham, says, he said, I could steal this from him. When the why becomes clear, the how becomes easy.
Absolutely. We've had a couple of trainings with Keith. I love Keith, but that is an absolute, great one, because, everyone has a why. Sometimes it just takes some people a little bit more time to identify what that why is than others.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So let's take a little bit of a left turn here. I want to ask you what role social media plays in Jeunesse right now. Can you tell me a little bit about where you guys are positioned, how you use social media, what it means for you as a company, and where your distributors are positioned with social media right now?
So I think for us, social media it's quite widespread. Our market is split down the middle with Chinese distributors and Caucasian distributors. So with the Caucasian group, they obviously focus a lot on Facebook and Instagram. Chinese community focus a lot on WeChat. So we've obviously been investing a lot of time in WeChat. WeChat is not a platform I understand a lot about. Obviously, I've employed an expert to look into that, but I think it's crucial for us. A lot of people use social media to grow their business at the moment. So we need to make sure we're giving our distributors the tools to not get left behind. in that field. And we've took a big focus and a big step back and have had a look at how we can better use our social pages to connect and use those for our field. So our Facebook is very distributor focused. We use it a lot for sharing information on products, a communication platform, business building tips, blogs. Yep. We do a lot of Facebook Lives. There's so much you can do on the Facebook platform, as you know, Sam, being the expert in that field. So our Instagram platform is more consumer focused.
Yeah,
we've kind of segregated them down the middle, and that seems to really be working for us. And we always make sure we've got very high quality content that our distributors can use to make sure that they can share that on their page, or they can recycle that information. And WeChat, we're trialing different things at the moment with, moments, pages, groups, really, because obviously what we really want to continue to do is connect with our field, whether that be distributor focused, whether that be, customer or consumer focused. We still need to maintain that connection. So our social pages are a big thing that we continue to focus on. And with all the changes that are happening, Sam, I don't know how you stay I don't know how you keep ahead of them all. It's just forever changing. But
yeah, sometimes I wonder too. Don't worry about that.
It just kind of
what gaps,
and it changes.
How have you seen things change for your distributors over the last 18 months when it comes to social media? What have you seen to have been the challenges, but also the surprising successes for them during this period? Because social media has become, so much more than I think what we ever anticipated it would need to be.
Absolutely. The last 18 months has been rough on a lot of our distributors and our field. And to be honest, I am incredibly proud of how they have handled it. I think, and I'll put my hand up here and admit this, I think a lot of the time, someone in a position like as a general manager, you sit back and I didn't give our distributors enough credit. When everything changed, and they literally had to pivot their business. As much as I don't like that word, pivot, it's so overused, but it's it describes everything so well, is, they did an amazing job at doing it. They knew that the way business was once done could not be done. And, we as a company obviously had to make a lot of changes too, because for us, it takes me back to February, 2020, just as we were about to have a big conference on the Gold Coast, and we started getting a lot of questions with a lot of our distributors coming back from China talking about this virus. We had to think quickly about, okay, whilst it doesn't seem to be a big thing here yet, we had to really listen to our distributors as to what they wanted. So we made a decision very early in February to cancel our conference, and we ran with regional convention to your lounge room. We had to scramble in a couple of days. So we got all of our presenters every day at 12:30. We would go live and we'd bring them the content we were going to deliver them in the conference. So at that point in time, it was just a Facebook Live. It wasn't as professional as the way we do things now. But we then as a company identified, okay, this is not something that's just going to happen for a month or so. So we then moved quickly onto developing the Jeunesse Live platform. And it's effectively an online platform that can be streamed to any social channels in over 20 different languages simultaneously.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome.
That was a big focus for us, and it's kind of paid off because we can do events in any different country, and I can watch what's going on in Europe on our Jeunesse Live platform. I can see what's going on in Africa. I can see what's going on in the 140 different countries we do business in. And that's really allowed our distributors to, take a step back and rely on those kind of trainings for their team.
Yep.
But yeah, look, in the beginning, I didn't give them enough credit to move so quickly. I think we were all forced into having to do it. And I'm incredibly proud of how they pivoted and moved and changed everything, the way they knew how to do business to a new platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. It has been really amazing to watch the growth of people that I feel were really putting off social media and the move into the digital space for such a long time. And, I do remember having a conversation with the DSA in Australia back in, it was Australia Day long weekend last year, and we're sitting out in the boat because we had to go out and we were camping with our kids. We had to go and get some internet coverage to have this call with them. And they said this could be the end of this industry if people don't embrace social media. We're about to go into a countrywide lockdown, and we're afraid, we're concerned people are not going to step up because they've been resisting social media and the digital world for so long, and we don't know what's going to happen. And obviously Greg and I stepped in. We did a lot of work with the DSA over that period. We reformulated all of our trainings. We created a whole lot of free trainings that we distributed out to companies all over the country so that they could get people online. But what blew our minds, and I remember having this conversation with Jill from the DSA only a few months ago, was how people embraced it. And instead of going, nope, that's it, I'm going to shut the doors to my business, they went, well, if it's no business at all or it's social media, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to have a crack. And people just did. And it was unbelievable. And this industry just, I believe it took a whole nother step. It just grew in a whole new way because suddenly we as direct selling could provide something to people who were stuck in their homes that no other business could provide. You say you're proud of your field. I feel the same way, but I feel like I'm just proud of direct sellers.
Yeah, absolutely.
In general, it's amazing.
I think what I'm really feeling right now and what we've been talking about with our distributors is if there's ever been a time in network marketing or direct selling, now is the time, because you've got so many people that were, the world shut down, people were forced to work from home. They had a taste of that work-life balance. They enjoyed being able to drop the kids off at school, pick the kids up, being able to, maybe do this, do that, and have that flexibility where a lot of them are now being forced back into the office from 9 till 5, and they're realizing that that's not the lifestyle that they want. And, we have the answer to their problem. So it is a real opportunity for our industry at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And people say, oh, like we've come off the back of this crazy time and there's no more to be gained. Oh my goodness, you're so wrong. There's just so much to be gained in this industry right now. And I can see such a big shift has been happening, but I feel like it's lining us up for such an incredible future in direct selling. So I'm super excited about that.
Me too.
But what advice would you offer to someone? So we're going to get to our fun questions in just a sec that I know everyone loves to hear, but what advice would you offer to someone who's thinking about, maybe they're a mum and they're thinking about diving into network marketing, but they're not sure? What advice could you offer to them right now?
Oh, look, the best advice I could offer is do your research on the company, do your research on the industry, and, and make the jump. It literally is talking to, not just mums, dads, people every day from all walks of life that have joined this industry.
Don't just Google it, right?
Don't just Google it. Talk to people in the industry. Us GMs from all different companies are only too happy to take those calls and answer any questions. But it is such an amazing industry to offer that flexibility, that work-life balance. And for me, what I love about it is what you put in is what you get out. You can put in a couple of hours a week. If you just want to put in a couple of hours a week and not do it full time, you don't have to, but you still, it really is an amazing industry. It's one industry that I don't think I'll ever step out of. I fell in love with the industry. I can't ever imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's jump into these questions here. So tell me, Rachel, what's your favorite book for us to add to our Accelerator book list?
Oh, this was a really, really hard question. Now, I think my favorite book for, development-wise and work-wise would be Winning the Battle for Relevance by Michael McQueen. I really, I
gotta love Michael McQueen.
Yeah, I love listening to Michael, but I really think, that has been key to a lot of decisions, I've made over time, and one that really made me sit back and go, okay, yeah, I get it. This is what has to be done. It's favorite. Personally, I love to read a good crime thriller, James Patterson kind of model.
Can't go past a bit of James.
Can't go past, yeah.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. My dad, hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast, and he used to love James Patterson, but my dad likes to find the flaw in a lot of things. And he sent James Patterson this letter complaining because he was wasting too much paper with the start and the end of his chapters having half a page of just blank paper, and he was like, I want you to fill the pages so I've got more to read instead of half the book being just blank pages. And so I said, did he write back? And he went,
did he write back?
No. He goes, no. So I stopped reading James Patterson.
Oh, that's great though. You know, that's passion for what he believed in, and he tried to do something about it.
Yeah, there you go. It doesn't always work out, but good on you, Dad. Right. I kept reading James Patterson.
Yeah, me too.
So if you could have a superpower, Rachel, what would that be and why?
Oh,
I've heard some good ones.
I'd love so many. But I think for me, I'd love to be able to see into the future.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why? I think that that's easy. You can see what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people probably disagree, but for me, that's what
I feel like there's good and bad things to that. But I can
the bad with the good there. But I think for me, I think the good would outweigh the bad.
Yeah. No, I've got you there. I think that's a good one. And so, what about your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote would be, success is never owned, it is rented, and the rent is due every day. It really leads back into that surfer story we were talking about, the swing. You can't expect to hit your goals and have success without doing something to get there every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Really great. And very last question, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
This one's easy. Always trust your gut.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. Such a good one as a mum, I think, as much as a business.
I think, it works with your professional life. It works with your personal life. And every time something's told me, maybe don't do it.
Yeah. Haven't you?
Yeah, I've been right. So now I will always trust my gut. It just took me longer to learn that than I wished it had of.
Yeah. I feel like that's been the way with kids. It's when you have your first child, you won't do this again, I know, but when you have your first child, you question everything because you think, I'm not a qualified parent. I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah. And so you ask everyone else, and everyone's more than willing to give you the opinion. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to being a mum, but it's always the thing you first thought you should have done that ends up being the only thing that works.
Yeah.
Amazing. Blows my mind, even now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, well, thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today. This has been really amazing hearing about what an incredible journey for you, and something that absolutely you should be so proud of. So congratulations on both this launch of this incredible product, but also on your new baby, which I can't wait to see. And I just want to wish you well. And, I hope this next period is a very joyful and relaxing one for you over Christmas as we move into Christmas time.
I know. It's just around the corner, isn't it? It's crazy.
Actually, when are you due?
14th of January.
Okay, right. So you miss Christmas Day, and we're
Oh yes. Hopefully I'm aiming to miss Christmas Day. If it has to happen, I hope it's before Christmas Day and I can be home. But yeah, let's hope he decides to stay there until, and I say he because it's a little boy, sorry.
Oh, yay. Awesome. Congratulations.
Decides to stay in until the date.
Awesome. Well, look, I'm so excited for you, Rachel. So thank you so much for joining us and taking this time out of your extremely busy schedule. But what we'll do as well, we'll pop in the show notes if anyone wants to check out Jeunesse or reach out, we'll pop some details in the show notes for them so that they can learn a little bit more about you guys. But again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure to have you here today. And yeah, thanks, Rachel.
No worries, Sam. A pleasure to be with you. It's been great, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We will see you again next week on the podcast. But for now, have an awesome week. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you again in 7 days. Bye for now.